You know that feeling when your heart races for no reason, when your thoughts spiral so fast you can't catch your breath. That was my life at 67. After 40 years as an ER nurse, I thought retirement would finally bring peace. Instead, I found myself paralyzed by anxiety so severe I couldn't leave my house some days. My name is Margaret, and 3 years ago, I lost my husband of 43 years. What followed wasn't just grief. It was an all-consuming anxiety that doctors said might require lifelong medication. But today, I haven't taken an anti-anxiety pill in over a year. What changed wasn't my circumstances. It was how I learned to exist within them. When Thomas died, everyone told me what to expect about grief. The stages, the timeline, the process. But nobody mentioned how grief could morph into something else entirely. A constant, crippling anxiety that made even simple tasks feel impossible. As a nurse, I'd spent decades helping others through medical crises, but suddenly I couldn't help myself. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one morning, trying to pay bills online. My hands were shaking so badly, I couldn't type my password. I'd been up since 3 a.m., my mind racing with thoughts like, what if I run out of money? And what if I get sick and there's no one to care for me? These weren't just passing worries, they were consuming my entire existence. My daughter Jennifer noticed the change in me during a video call. "Mom, you don't look well," she said. I broke down and admitted that I'd been having panic attacks nearly every day. That I'd canceled my weekly bridge game, stopped going to my water aerobics class, and hadn't seen my grandkids in person for months because the thought of driving to their house overwhelmed me. Jennifer insisted I see my doctor, who quickly diagnosed me with anxiety disorder and prescribed medication. The pills helped dull the edge of panic, but they also dulled everything else. I felt like I was watching my life through foggy glass, present but not really there. Is this what my retirement would be? Medicated existence until the end. That's when my neighbor Alina, a widow herself, invited me to join her meditation group at the senior center. I almost laughed. Meditation. At my age. With my racing thoughts. It seemed ridiculous. But Alina was persistent, and honestly, I was desperate. The first session was excruciating. Sitting still for even 5 minutes felt impossible. My legs ached, my mind wandered, and I kept peeking at the clock. The instructor, a gentle-voiced woman named Claire, talked about mindfulness and being present, concepts that sounded nice but felt completely unattainable. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind, Claire explained. It's about noticing your thoughts without attaching to them. Like watching clouds pass across the sky, I went home convinced it wasn't for me. But that night when I woke at 2 a.m. with my heart pounding, I remembered Claire's words. I tried focusing on my breath, counting slowly. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. I didn't magically fall asleep, but for a few moments, the panic receded slightly. I decided to give the class one more try. And then another. By the third week, something shifted. During one session, as we practiced what Claire called body scan meditation, I suddenly realized I'd gone several minutes without thinking about my worries. I was just present, feeling the weight of my body against the chair, noticing the sunlight warming my hands. For those brief moments, anxiety wasn't controlling me. What followed was a slow but remarkable transformation. I began practicing daily, just 10 minutes each morning. I downloaded a meditation app that offered guided sessions specifically for grief and anxiety. Some days were better than others, but gradually I noticed changes. First, I started sleeping better, not perfectly, but better. Then I found myself able to focus on conversations without my mind constantly wandering to worst-case scenarios. I started driving short distances again, using breathing techniques when I felt panic rising. The real breakthrough came about 6 months in. I was at the grocery store, a place that had become particularly challenging for me. The fluorescent lights, the crowds, the decisions. It usually sent my anxiety soaring. But this day, I noticed anxiety beginning to build, and instead of fighting it or fleeing from it, I simply acknowledged it. I see you, anxiety, I thought. You're here and that's okay. But you don't need to control this moment. I continued shopping, feeling the anxiety present but not overwhelming. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in the driver's seat of my own experience. Not anxiety. This practice of mindfully acknowledging my feelings rather than being consumed by them became my foundation for healing. Claire called it grieving mindfully, allowing the natural process of loss without letting it spiral into something that prevented living. Let me be clear, meditation didn't cure my grief. I still miss Thomas every single day. There are still moments when I reach across the bed in the morning, forgetting he's gone. But meditation gave me tools to experience grief without being destroyed by it, to feel the pain without amplifying it through anxiety about the pain. As my practice deepened, I began exploring different types of meditation. Loving kindness meditation helped me develop compassion for myself when I struggled. Walking meditation got me moving again, connecting with nature in a way that felt grounding. Body scan meditation helped me recognize when anxiety was building in my physical form before it overwhelmed my mind. About a year into my practice, I started reducing my anxiety medication with my doctor's supervision. The process was gradual with some setbacks, but eventually I was able to stop completely. My doctor was amazed at the change in me. Whatever you're doing, she said, keep doing it. What I was doing wasn't just meditation in the formal sense. I was learning to live mindfully in all moments. To wash dishes and really feel the warm water, smell the soap, hear the sounds. To eat a meal and actually taste it, not just rush through while my mind was elsewhere. To listen fully when my grandchildren spoke, rather than half listening while anxiety chattered in the background. One of the most powerful practices I discovered was what Claire called mindful grieving. Instead of pushing away memories of Thomas because they hurt too much, I learned to create space for remembering him with presence. I'd sit with his photograph and deliberately recall specific moments. Our wedding day, beach vacations, even mundane Sundays reading the paper together. I'd let the feelings come, whatever they were: sadness, gratitude, love, anger at being left alone. I'd experience them fully, without judgment, and then gently return to my breath. This practice transformed my relationship with grief. Rather than an enemy to fight or flee from, grief became more like a visitor, sometimes difficult, sometimes bringing gifts of appreciation for what we'd shared. I stopped seeing grief as something to get over and started recognizing it as an expression of the love that remained. The Senior Center Meditation Group became my community. We were all dealing with different challenges: loss of spouses, health concerns, family conflicts, but the practice connected us. We'd share our experiences after sessions, offering support without trying to fix each other's problems. For someone who'd spent her career solving medical crises, learning to simply witness others' struggles without rushing to solutions was its own form of meditation. Alina, who'd first invited me to the group, became my closest friend. We started a small neighborhood walking meditation group that met 3 mornings a week. Just 4 of us, all widows over 65, walking slowly and mindfully through our community park. No pressure to chat, though conversations often flowed naturally. Sometimes we'd stop to really notice a flower or listen to birds. These simple moments became anchors in my week. About 2 years into my practice, my daughter Jennifer faced her own crisis, a difficult divorce. She called me in tears one night, overwhelmed with anxiety about the future. "Mom, how will I manage alone? What if I made a terrible mistake? What if the kids are damaged forever?" In the past, her pain would have immediately triggered my own anxiety. I would have either minimized her feelings to ease my discomfort or catastrophized alongside her, making us both more anxious. Instead, I found myself responding differently. "I hear how scared you are, honey," I said. "That's completely understandable. Would you like to take a few deep breaths with me right now?" We breathed together over the phone. Then I gently suggested she just notice what she was feeling in her body without trying to change it. Where was the anxiety sitting? Her chest? Her stomach? "This is weird, Mom," she laughed through tears. "Since when did you become a Zen master?" I wasn't a master of anything, just a student of presence. But I was able to be there for my daughter, in a way I couldn't have imagined 3 years earlier. And later, she joined me for a meditation session, beginning her own journey with the practice. This is one of meditation's greatest gifts. It doesn't just help you, it helps you help others. By learning to be present with my own difficult emotions, I became better at being present with the struggles of people I love. Now, at 70, I volunteer once a week at a grief support group at my local hospital. I don't lead meditation sessions. I leave that to the professionals, but I share my experience and sometimes guide simple breathing exercises. After decades as a nurse healing physical ailments, I've found new purpose in sharing tools for emotional healing. I've learned that finding peace after loss isn't about forgetting or moving on. It's about creating space where grief and joy can coexist, where anxiety might visit but doesn't have to stay, where memories bring tears but also smiles. The journey hasn't been linear. There are still hard days. Days when I wake up with that familiar tightness in my chest. When the future stretches before me, lonely and uncertain. But now, instead of those feelings defining my day or week, they're just weather, clouds that pass through the sky of awareness. I acknowledge them, feel them fully, and continue breathing. If you're struggling with anxiety, especially after loss, please know this: it's never too late to find a new way of being. At 67, I thought my patterns were set in stone. That anxiety was just my new normal. I was wrong. Our brains remain capable of change throughout our lives. The practice of mindfulness created new neural pathways that offered alternatives to my anxiety response. Science confirms what I experienced: regular meditation actually changes the structure and function of our brains, particularly in areas related to stress response. So what would I say to someone watching this who's struggling with anxiety, grief, Both. First, be gentle with yourself. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling what you feel. Second, consider that meditation isn't about escaping your feelings. It's about developing a new relationship with them. And third, start small. Even 3 minutes of mindful breathing can begin shifting patterns that have existed for decades. For me, mindful meditation wasn't just a practice. It was a lifeline that pulled me from the darkness of anxiety back into the light of living. It didn't erase my grief or eliminate all anxious thoughts, but it gave me the space to experience them without being consumed by them. If you're interested in exploring meditation, especially as it relates to grieving mindfully or finding peace after loss, there are wonderful resources specifically designed for seniors and beginners. The video description below includes links to free guided meditations and community resources. And remember, you don't need to sit cross-legged on the floor or chant mantras to meditate. You can practice in a comfortable chair, lying down, or even while walking. Today, I can genuinely say I'm at peace with this chapter of my life. Not because it's what I would have chosen, but because I've learned to be fully present within. To find moments of joy amid sorrow. To appreciate the sunrise even when I watch it alone. As Alina often says in our walking group, we can't control the winds, but we can adjust our sails. Meditation taught me how to adjust my sails, to navigate the unpredictable waters of grief and anxiety with more grace and less suffering. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to learn new ways of being with our most difficult emotions. Sometimes, the most transformative journeys begin with a single breath.